All right. Hey guys, hopefully you guys can all hear me. I'm excited about this in just terms of talking some special teams and some things that I've been able to kind of process and develop over the years in terms of how I would approach things. Um, it was probably about 5, 6 years ago um, that I wanted to basically look at the special teams and say, hey, we do a lot of scheme stuff, but when you go with your scout teams, you go with your look teams, and you do all those things, you never get the look that you really want. And so I started looking back on maybe we need to do skill development, and that's where I really started leaning towards. As much as we want our kids to understand the schemes, we simplified a lot of things, and I wanted to make sure that our kids were really good at the skills that were needed, and started thinking about, hey, this is just like offense, defense. We have an indie. We got to be able to develop these skills, and there's a lot of intricate skills, and you're giving a limited amount of time to do that. And so I spent a lot of time taking advantage of being in the area where I'm at in Chicago. Northwestern's great with inviting guys in, and I thought they did an outstanding job in minimal amount of time, but getting a lot of information to these kids and teaching a lot of stuff in that short amount of time. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of grow and develop and start incorporating some things. And this is kind of just, the fruition of a lot of things that I've been able to do over the last couple of years with our guys. So fast, smart, finish is kind of our mantra. We want to be able to play fast in everything we do, be smart. We've got a limited amount of plays, and so we don't want to waste those opportunities with silly penalties, mistakes, turnovers, things like that. Um, Going into it, so everybody knows special teams is 1/3 of the game, and a lot of times though you have coaches that, hey, it's important, but then sometimes the opportunities that you get with practice and meetings aren't quite as much as you want to do, so that you have to make do with what you're given and know when to fight, bite, scratch, and claw to get that additional time. So it's one aspect of the game that has the greatest number of momentum changes. And I say that because you've got giant possession swings that happen on each special teams play. Each play covers at least 40 yards of field position, whether you're punting, returning, kickoffs, kickoff returns. So in general, we're talking all the running special teams. So there's huge shifts, and in terms of looking at things and trying to describe it, you got the possession changes that always occur. And if they don't fall into either of these two categories, they are direct scoring opportunities. And so when I started looking at this, and when you look at how defenses and offenses want to have explosive plays, every special team's an explosive play. And so it's a one series where there's an explosive play that occurs, and it's something that's going to positively or negatively affect your team, or that opportunity that you might give your offense or defense in that game. So part of that was trying to change our kids' mindset in terms of, this is a series, this is an explosive play, a guaranteed explosive play that we've got to execute on. So that was part of our changing of our mindset. And this is something too, when we're done, I'll have my contact information. You guys want this PowerPoint, so you don't have to scramble in writing and stuff. I'm more than happy to share this. So our goals, just in general, we want to average 10 yards per punt. So we want a first down on our punt returns. We want to be able to at least catch the ball and get a first down right away for our offense wherever we're at on the field. Catch all balls, simple enough, but there's times where we have to weigh, hey, this kid's really explosive. He could score a touchdown on any given punt return, but he can't catch the ball in a crowd. And we've got this other kid who's not as fast, but he can catch every ball. We're going to lean towards catching every ball because possession's key, especially if our defense has done a great job to stop them. Let's just get the ball back and get it to our offense, who, fortunately for us this year, offense was very explosive. Hey, let's let them do the work. Let's just make sure we get the ball in the possession. Clean ball security. So part of that is that reverse psychology. When you say, don't turn the ball over, and then the kid turns the ball over. I don't want to say no turnovers. It's clean ball security. We just want to be clean with the ball. Once we secure it, once we scoop it, if we have an opportunity to block it and we got to pick it up off the ground, little things like that, we just want clean ball security. We want to have one game changer over the course of the game. Block, a TD, a fake, something that will change that momentum. Fortunately, this year, our head coach was very awesome in terms of wanting to go for fakes, and was open to fakes and open to fake punts and onside kicks and surprise onsides and things like that. So it allowed the creative juices to kind of flow a little bit week in and week out. We want to average net 38 yards per punt. And really that's based on your punter. So if you only have a punter that averages 36 yards per punt, well, it's hard to get that net. So you want to get your punter's average, and you want to limit that to, less than 3 yards on a return. So if he's a 36 yarder, you want a 33-yard net. We had a 40-yard punter. We wanted to have a 38-yard net and make sure that we could, keep teams from getting that first down on that first play of their offensive possession. Average kickoff starting point, 25-yard line or inside. With the change in kickoff rules and stuff, I felt it was a nice starting point. It used to be the 20-yard line, but if we had a kicker that was kicking touchbacks every time, hey, I'll take it. Kickoff return, the average starting point of 35 yards plus. That one where, hey, if we can get 30, 35 yards on return based on where we're catching it, that's an opportunity for offense to be that much closer. So make all kicks. Any opportunity we have to kick a field goal, hey, we want to make those things. Clean execution. So again, that reverse psychology, not talking about don't get a penalty or, don't do something stupid. Hey, let's be clean with our execution, guys. Make sure we understand where we got to go, what's our body position, what's our technique. And that's where a lot of our technique stuff comes back to all our drills. Hey, what drill is this that you're doing in this particular play or in this particular scheme? Just do that drill. Oh, I get it. And so we can talk to them in terms of the drill and the technique being the coaching point. So our overall philosophy, we want to create a sense of urgency for special teams. If you're not in the too deep on our drill days, so when we have a lot of drills and we'll do things pre-practice and we'll do some things during early week special teams periods and then also in the preseason, we want a way we can plug and play players. So, you got your 2D, they're going to work the scheme majority of the time. But when we're working drills, I want to make sure every single kid is involved with those drills, even in our scout team guys. And sometimes I got to fight with coaches a little bit because I get, they want to get reps for those key guys. But I look at it in a way of, well, if he goes down and that number 3 guy never got any reps, even in drills, we've got to try to fast forward him. And there's going to be this disconnect, this lack of understanding of him being able to execute that technique. So anytime we can do those, get those guys in drills and being able to execute those things, it's, hey, plug and play. You got to block 5, do the kick slide technique, that we work every day in practice. So now he has a better understanding. The other side of that too is that a lot of these kids are working these techniques, and when they work on your look teams, they know what to do. Hey, just kick slide like we practice. You got him, and as you show them the cards. So you get a little bit more crossover. You get a little more better execution on a lot of things, especially when it comes like punt and punt return. And then when we're getting these kids involved with meetings, so we can adjust as we get guys and injury bug hits, all those little things. So we want to create those opportunities where we can plug and play kids. And then we ought to make sure you monitor when you have healthy players get back. You can't forget about those guys. So if they were performing, and they were guys that were doing a good job, the other kids doing a good job, a lot of times it's, rob Peter to pay Paul. But because there's a lot of crossover in skills, I can put a guard at a tackle and move another guy up. So now we create opportunities to create depth from within when we get guys that are getting those reps and practicing. And then we want to drill the little things. Schemes are needed, but fundamentals make it work. We want to create reps with small units and techniques at speed. So a lot of this, especially in like kickoff return and kickoff periods, it's so hard to get that look. Those kids are coming back and everybody's running down at them. And so I want to try to break those things up and break up techniques so we can do it more at speed, get a little more reps, but get our guys flying down and understanding, where their fits are and where they have to go and being fast with it, because a lot of times the scheme looks were never where they needed to be and they weren't done fast enough, and you spending more time trying to get your look team to do something that they weren't just really capable of doing in the short amount of time to do it. And then I always use this with some of the places I've been at, some of the scholarship places. Get yourself on the bus. Kids who have these NFL aspirations, if you have a skill like long snapping, or you have a skill like, being a gunner on punt, or being a guy that's always showing up on special teams on a kickoff, for some of these small college guys, that's how you get on an NFL roster, is that you make these plays. And a lot of times, you could be a heck of a receiver, but if they only have a 56-man roster and you can't play special teams, you're going to be cut. And getting these kids to understand that there's this opportunity for you to grow and develop is great. And so you want to make sure that those kids have that chance to do that. All phases are affected by the special team. So offense, where your starting point's going to be, good or bad. You get pinned deep, that's never good for an offense. You start on the 40-yard line, awesome. Defense, you can start a team, buried inside the 5 and keep them there. You create a field position later on. So there's all these little, and coaches talk about this, the hidden yardage that occurs, and these all are little things that affect the outcome of a game. And the more often we can create better opportunities for ourselves, the better off we're going to be. So drill setup, and really this is kind of the meat of what we're going to talk about. And as I go through this, after this, I'll go into and follow through on a lot of the drills and how we set that up, and I have some schemes here after. So pre-practice for me is indie time. So a lot of the places I've been, you'll have 10 minutes of pre-practice, and you'll get guys that will go punting, guys that long snap, guys that do returns, things like that. And those are opportunities to get guys to, get some extra reps. So what I'll do is I'll take guys and do some punt drills. Oh, I'm going a little fast here. Oh, sorry about that. Not sure what happened there. It's going on its own. So I'll just leave it on this page. So pre-practice or anytime, you'll have, that time where I'll go punt and punt return. I'll take 5 minutes and we'll do punt skill drills, and then we'll flip around and we'll do punt block drills. If it's a kickoff return drills, we'll pair those guys together. We'll do kickoff drill in the beginning, and then we'll kickoff return drill. And so we're doing our individual time for those skills there. And then when we get into our unit times, I might take an extra 5 minutes to do a more specific drill. Or I'll take an extra 5 minutes to do some sort of, coaching point, maybe with the tackling drill sometimes too, especially with our punt teams. And then we'll get into our scheme stuff in another aspect of our unit drill. So invariably we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes and go through. And I am not sure what's going on there. My screen was going a little crazy. Apologize for that. I want to go backwards to set up. So fighting for time, regardless of the head coach, is head coach's stated importance. So coaches will say it's important, and they'll give you 5 minutes for indie time. And I'm always going to try to fight for more. If I get 15, I want 20. If I get 5, I want 10. And justify it, like, hey, this is what I need. This is how it's set up in terms of these are my skills I got to develop, and this is how I want to approach things. Maximize your time you get, skills over scheme. So one of the things is I want to make sure our kids have a good grasp of the skills, because our schemes are simple enough, they can plug and play. Pre-practice is useful time. So anytime you have, 10, 15 minutes of pre-practice time, where it's dedicated for the kickers, returners, and stuff, you want to take your units and use that to work your drills. Use that to develop those skills. And maybe you get an opportunity to see something in a kid like, hey, this kid might be an opportunity to get him on the bus, to develop him. He's doing a great job in these skills. This other kid isn't performing as well. It's opportunities to see those guys develop. Develop a strong foundations of skills. And so spring ball was huge for us in trying to do this. Unfortunately, we lost out on that this year. So we're going to have to get creative in how to maximize our time during our fall camp and preseason, so we can develop a lot of these skills, especially with some of our incoming freshmen who we feel could help us, but we're not going to have as many reps to go around. So we're going to have to be creative and using our time wisely when it comes to that. And the hierarchy of importance. So if, punt is usually the number one thing you want to work on from a special team standpoint. And then from there, it's really based on, we had an offense that was fairly explosive. So really, we had a lot more kickoffs per game than anything. So that was the next thing we worked on, and maybe it would flip from week to week, punt, block, return, or kickoff based on that. But they were fairly close in terms of opportunities. Our defense, would have opportunities to be very stout, and we'd stop people, and you know, we work on those things. But then again, we were very simple in what we were doing, and we were more of securing the ball for possession. So we didn't have a ton of schemes. We had a block and one hold up. That was it. So we could get a lot of reps and not a lot of time. So we could focus on doing more stuff with kickoff. And then kickoff return, because we felt strongly about our defense, we were going to get 2 to 3 opportunities per game. So with those kind of reps, we didn't need to spend as much time. Now, maybe you're a team that defense is not quite where it needs to be. So you're giving up a lot of scores. So you might want to work kickoff return more, because it might give your opportunity for your offense to have better field position. So that's where you got to weigh, hey, how many times are we getting this per game over the course of the year? What's more important, and kind of develop what your hierarchy is. And then certainly it applies to the skills and the traits and the schemes that you want to use as you go forth. So this is kind of how I set up everything. Now I created little buzzwords and names. So instead of calling punt, I called it pride. Stole that from Northwestern. Our punt return unit was called block party, because we want to either make blocks or block the ball. Kickoff we called sick off, because I always termed it, you got to be a little bit nutty to run as fast as you can down into other guys who want to run into you. And it was something that resonated with our kids. House party was our kickoff return unit. And we just, because we wanted to go to the house, and we figured we'd celebrate. So something that it just was a little bit different, just gave us an opportunity to create a little bit of ownership with our guys, and try to create a little bit of a personality with our guys when it came to that. But, I had it set up with our unit alignments, and then our, kicker return, basically what our schemes would be. Blocks or fakes that we'd want to be able to run or kind of check through, drills. And this is where I'd work off of, hey, I want to make sure we get these drills in preseason. And then I'd start just going back to those drills every so often. And we just rotated on and kept a little bit of a rotating schedule in terms of, hey, we got to work this skill this week. We're lacking in this skill. We're going to do a little more double teams, or we'll see more double teams. So we'll get them all in the preseason, have some film on it, review it, and then come back to it week to week as we go through. Special situations. So, 2 points, onside, quick kick, bleeding the clock, anything that might come up. I have here victory. So the Music City Miracle kind of thing. We have a little scheme that we would do just to make sure that we got into a situation, we needed it. That's what we do. And then anytime we had walkthroughs, we'd work some different things if we needed to, and then our pre-practice drill work that we wanted to do. So I just basically made a matrix of things that I wanted to work through and make sure we got done and we touched upon over the course of the year. So I'm going to show some schemes, drawings of our punt drills, and then I'll follow through and show you the videos of the same type of stuff. So a lot of these, I like to do crossover competitive drills or crossover drills in terms of how we handle pre-practice. So this was our kick slide, domino, and rip. So we would just work, a bunch of lines, and they just work our 3 kick slides, 1, 2, 3. Domino meant just basically block your guy to the outside, and then dip rip into your landmark. And this was just all one-on-one stuff. And then we progress, and we'd go, with a defender that you'd have to block, just working our kick and punch and doing those different things. We just work it right on the sideline. We'd have our gunners down here, and they would work releases. A lot of times wide receiver coaches are great, because that's what you teach your kids every day, how to release off press. And so they make great counterparts to be able to work your gunners on that. And then vice versa, when you're doing your punt return stuff, your DB coach working, your press man technique. So we're just working some different approaches as far as release, and then how we want to attack the returner. And then we've got our half line set up here. If we want to go half line, snapper, PP, wing, snapper, PP, wing, and we're just repping it out. And a lot of times when we're doing this, we're working our landmark drill, 10-yard cover, get to your landmarks and spread out. And then from there, keep the ball inside and in front. So this is kind of like how we set up our punt drill stuff. Start on the sidelines, gunners are over here, and then anytime we want to do any half line work, we'll go in the middle of the field, and then quarterbacks are doing their thing down here, pre-practice, kickers if they're not with us, are kicking field goals and doing that type of stuff. So when we do our block party drills now, we're working our get off here. A lot of times, if we're going to see a shield team, we'll do a technique we call motor mirror. And it's just trying to work basically a press man type of technique. We'll also do some block point stuff here as well. Just bend, dip, rip, get to the block point. And once we get to the video, you'll see how this kind of all plays out and how it illustrates and how it kind of crosses over. We do a drill called bottom of the hill. So basically we have a trail guy, a bag, and a returner. So as he gets around this cone or the bag, he starts to throttle down, and this guy needs to be in a position to block that late and then chase the block as the returner goes. So basically working that bottom half of the return when we're getting to a point where we got to throw that block late for that return to be able to spring that returner. Um, and then we'll do some things where we'll talk about different techniques. If once we get there, we want to throw a haymaker, and I'll show that when we get into those drills. This is our towel drill. So this is a full speed drill that we like to do with our guys. And this is something, it's a competitive drill. So I'll take all our punt guys, all our punt return guys. And even if you're not on one or the other, again, you're learning a crossover skill that's going to help you down the road. So we'll have, the blocker and then the cover guy. And essentially it's, we'll work it out of a 3-point stance where he's got a kick slide and then work it, or we'll work it out of it. If we're going to see a shield that week, we'll have these guys work as a shield guy, and then just they're working their cover down technique. And so we have these towels about 30 yards down the field rolled up, and so they have to run, and this guy basically has to escape, and then to simulate him throttling down for a tackle, he's got to dip and pick up that towel with his hand. So, if he doesn't pick it up, this guy's in a position, he makes the block. If he does pick it up, he wins. If he doesn't pick it up and this guy makes a block, he wins. So it's a competitive drill. We'll chart who wins, extra push-ups, something cheesy like that. Maybe we'll just do a down, back down kind of thing. But again, it's a full speed drill. We've also added in a returner. So we'll work off of hash to the sideline, hash to the sideline. So now they got to make that block. These guys got to get off the block, and then it's a two-hand underhand tag on the returner. They can't reach tag one hand. It's got to be a two-hand underhand tag on the returner just to simulate a good body posture on the tackle. So kickoff drills, and it's funny, with the XFL, you saw how they were doing their kickoff, and essentially that was what we did for our drill, except we just work it with, our 6 interior guys. And we chopped it down. Instead of going 10 yards, we worked it at 5, and they're just working their punch, press, get off, escape, and get to the returner. And so it was very similar when I was watching the XFL. I'm like, well, we've been drilling that for the last few years. So the college football decides to change to that format, we'll be all set. But it's a great close quarters drill. When you're within 5 yards, you got to punch, press, disengage, get off that block, get to the returner, and then, just pursue and keep that good inside out angle. Now you can take your returners. It's good training for them to be able to make a one cut, try to find that hole. You get a guy that's back here, you want to try him as a returner and he starts dancing, probably not your guy. So again, you can still work some crossover skills in a competitive situation here. And we'll take all our kickoff guys and all our kickoff return guys and just throw them in the lines and let them go after it. Even if you're only on one or the other, hey, it's a crossover skill. You never know. This was a drill that, we just wanted to work some avoid. We'll offset it. These are basically just garbage cans or dummies. And so they'll just work, a counter step across, dip, rip, and then track the ball, keep the ball inside and in front. So he's got to keep a near foot shoulder, and this guy can, basically go try to blow him up. But as these guys go, it's just a two-hand underhand tag as they approach. So he wants to be fast, force to cut back, and he wants to come off his butt, and he wants to be in a position to be, finishing on that tackle. So again, it's a full speed drill, so we can just work on angles of attack and working it fast. This last drill is specific for our fold players. So when I fold these guys back, I don't have them really fold and wait. I have them fold back, and what I tell them is, they're a lot like a deep quarter safety. Oh, oops, I gotta go back. They're a lot like a deep quarter safety. He's gonna fold back and wait, and once he sees a window to the ball, he's going for the ball. And so if the returner's coming towards him, he's gonna fold in, find his window, and he's gonna fill and go. This guy's going to flow on the backside, and when he sees his window, he's going to track the hip and go. So these guys are straight ball guys. Our kicker is going to be the safety, and he's just going to shadow on top. So that's how we work this drill. I've kind of progressed a little bit, and I started working what I call, I can't. I'm thinking I'm on huddle. I started working my interior guys, which are my fives right here. And I have one basically go spill and the other guy go over the top like a linebacker just to give myself an extra flow guy. And it's something that we just try to do to gain a guy into the hole. So that was just something new this year. I started working with those guys to try to get an extra body to where they want to break that return. But essentially, these guys are the contained guys, so they got to get to ball depth. He's going to get the ball depth, and once he does, his rule is to trim the fat. So as the returner goes away, he's staying at ball depth. I don't want this guy to be here and then start running this way. He's going to follow it all the way from behind because the guy cannot cut back. We have other guys for that job up here that should be able to contain it if this guy doesn't get it and our kicker doesn't use the sideline. So this is a drill we work fast. I'll usually have dummies here, you'll see, as landmarks just to give them something to fold into and to work to. And then once they get going, it's just move, move, move. Restraining line drills, just working the whole group, timing it up with the kicker so we can time out our kick. But what I will do is our guys have fits, and I can talk about scheme if we have time after. So basically, their fits are off the ends, the fullbacks, and the returners. So essentially, it's like gap sound football and defense. These front five guys, I really kind of disregard because I expect these guys to beat them in space and to get to their fit. So these guys fit inside the fullbacks. They're outside the fullback. He's outside the end, and as their fits move, they move. So wherever these guys go, they can follow and they start tracking the hips. So when we do this restraining line drill, I'll just have these guys run hard left or hard right, so then they can adjust their path as they run. Folds adjust accordingly. Contains are always contained, and so it gives us a chance to work our timing on our kicks with our kicker, and then kind of see how we got to fit as it moves going through. Unfortunately, I do not have a clip of this drill. It's a drill that we'll do a lot in the fall camp and in spring ball to kind of get the idea of getting to our fits. And then we don't do that drill anymore. So kickoff return drills. Essentially, we'll set up on the sideline, and we're basically a J drop team. And if you're more of a head up team, you could adjust your technique accordingly. So what we do is we want to make sure we leverage our guy and block him away from where the return's going. And we'll work basically, if you have leverage, keep it. If you lose it, you want to get leverage back. So we'll also work this drill where this guy's going to try to backdoor him, and he's got to flip around and basically quick flip and then block him the opposite direction again just to get body on him. So we'll work kind of a worst case scenario with this drill, going speed, keeping the leverage, and then when you lose the leverage, getting it back and basically flipping around and blocking him. This other drill, and this is one of my favorite drills I like to do on kickoff days, is fly zone. It also crosses over for a great kickoff return drill. We have a box down here about 25 yards away. This guy's about 7 yards off. This guy's on the hash. He's sprinting down as fast as he can. He's getting into a position to block him, and he can go block him with leverage, or he can regain, get it, and wheel around and block him the other way. But he wants to block him in this block zone and prevent this kickoff guy. His job is to run through, and we have a cone right here. All he has to do is run through and put his foot on the cone. This guy cannot run out of the box. He's got to run through the box, and this guy's got to keep him from stepping on the cone. If he gets him past the cone, he wins. If he touches the cone, he wins. It's a great full speed drill, and it gives our guys a chance to really work the skill at speed. And I'll do this in lieu of doing scheme stuff, because to me, this is where you win the battle. This is the front line guy that you got to beat. And so we get guys that can win this battle in this drill, then this guy's got to be first and foremost on our kickoff team. If we get a guy that nobody can get around and he's blocking, he's going to be a frontline guy. So to me, this is a great drill to really see what a guy can do and what his skill set is as far as this technique goes with our kickoff return. And then we basically just, when we do our kickoff return stuff, I basically go half line. We'll go full line going this direction towards the end zone. We got a half line back part of our return. So our fullbacks, our ends, working this side of the return. And we just split it up so we can get more reps. These guys know who to block up front with their count. These guys know who to block up front with their count. And we can kind of go full speed in a short quarter. So we'll bring them down a little bit so they can adjust their timing. And then we just want to go fast, fast, fast and block these guys in space. And it just gives us a better chance to work it at speed and a better opportunity to get our guys to track guys, figure out where they're going, and then adjust if, they try to make a move or dip and rip or, split that double team. And to me, it's just a little bit better than trying to go full scheme. You get your kickoff team running down, and it just looks sloppy. So I always like that half line thing. When we go like a full team, it might be more of a walkthrough pace so they can kind of see how it goes and unfolds, on our Thursday or Friday practice. So I'll bring this back up here for you guys to write down and jot down if you want a copy of that. And I'm going to go pull up the huddle film right here so I can show you and give you a better sense of what we try to do. And we are back. We on?
We're good, Coach.
Awesome. So we'll go through some of our punt drills first. Let me get this full screen here. All right. So this is a lot of our pre-practice stuff right here, what we'll do. So then we're just working our technique. We got our guys right across here. Our snappers and our punters, our gunners are down here. Our snappers and punters are, somewhere else in the field doing their stuff. But we're just working our technique here. This is early on in the season, just working our kick slide. 1, 2, 3. And we want to stick that back foot. A lot of guys will, it's like a T-step, really. But you want to stick that back foot, give yourself a brace, and then we domino out. So we want to stay square as long as possible. That last foot, we punch and kick out and domino out, and then we dip and rip. So a lot of this is working reps on air, just trying to get our guys used to the technique. Here's an example of us going to our half line drill. So we're on a hash, and we'll set up cones to get to their landmarks. So it's a 10-yard cover. And where we start, so how we are in this position here, when we kick slide, is where we finish. He'll be right where he needs to be. He's straight back, but we should still have the same split, 6, 12, stacked, and it should all work out when we get back into our, so we have this nice wall, ball's kicked. Here's a better one here, ball's kicked. And we get to our landmarks. These guys are ball guys, so they're just going to go for the ball. He's a landmark, and we have rules based on what their landmarks are. After 10 yards, it's get to the ball, keep the ball inside and in front. So he knows he's a contained guy, and then he's keeping the ball inside and front, keeping the ball inside and front, our safety valve. So this is something we do a lot, working our kicks, putting it all together, going on air if we're not doing a heavy contact day or we're in no pads. This is a great thing to do to get our kids to understand where we got to fit. So now here's our drill, same drill. Now we've just added a rusher. So now, again, these are all punt and punt return guys. So here, if we were seeing a stand-up team, we'll change it. We can go, stand up. We can go 3-point, so we can give them different looks. These guys initially will go first 5 minutes and just practicing on how to stay square and punch. He's getting a little turn. He's getting a little turn. I want to see a little more square on that. And it's domino out, and then get on your path. So we don't want to let him cross our face, domino him out. If they make him start and stop, I'm good with that. We just have some cones for some landmarks, and then we get on our path. So again, now we're working our kicks with a punch technique, and our other guys are able to work their techniques as far as trying to dip and rip. And when we get to our punt stuff, you'll see how it works opposite. So now, here's some things that we do with our guys. So we've worked our kick stuff. We've worked our protection up front. Now we want to work basically the opportunity to be in a position to make a play. So here we're working what we call our back door and our shuck. So basically here, he's feeling pressure from this blocker that's been running with him down the field. He's going to wheel, hand on the hip, throw him by, and then throttle down and shimmy towards the cone here, so he can just get into a tackling approach. But we're trying to work these downfield escapes so you can get off blocks and get to the ball carrier. A lot of times you'll see guys are just hanging, the guy's hanging on him. He's just letting them hang on him. Hey, get off that block, get to the ball. So this is the first technique we'll show them. And then the next one, we call a shuck, where basically the guy's hanging on him, and we're just going to shove him out of the way. He's going to run down and just throw him out of the way with some force, get out, and get to the ball. Shove, get to the ball, be under control. So again, I always look at it, there's a lot of different little things that, I've been at places where we just work punt scheme and kick, and then we get mad when kids aren't tracking the ball, or they're not tackling the ball, or they get stuck on blocks. But we haven't worked that skill. I mean, you work that skill as a lineman, as a defensive lineman or a linebacker. You work punches as an offensive lineman. You work releases as a receiver. Well, we got to work those same things. And sometimes you'll have DBs that are maybe really good gunners, but they haven't worked press man releases. You got to work that. Here we got to work some downfield releases with our guys, and then get into position to get off blocks. So here, we just add in a donut, work a back door, travel through and tackle, and then we could take these donuts and work them at an angle. So we can do a lot of different things, with the donuts, or if you got a shadow man, just different ways to work those things, but also working that technique of getting off the block down the field. So this is a leverage drill, and all it is just an open field drill, and this is really good for kickoff and punt. And we just take a coach, throw it down to a returner, and move things in space and be under control. That near foot shimmy, a lot of that same stuff that, the Pete Carroll type of mentality, a lot of the stuff that USA is doing with their tackling stuff. And this is stuff that we're just able to do to get a lot of quick reps with guys and see what they can do. So now we're going on to our punt block return stuff. So here, just work and get off, work and move. I like going 4-point stances when we're going against a normal, pro punt team. Depending on if you're blocking or if you're rushing or if we're holding up, I'll change the stances to a 2-point or 4-point based on what their responsibility is. But we're just looking at get off, bend, block point. Real simple drill, work a lot of guys. So now we're doing a similar drill here, but now we've got pressure. So he's got that blocker on him, and he's just got to dip and rip through. Get to the block point. Fight that pressure, dip and rip through, get to the block point. So we'll build upon it from week to week as we go through, try to give them different stimulus and things that they might see and feel. Now, same thing. Now we got a guy kick sliding. Now he's got to work off that movement, dip, rip, get to the block point. So again, we'll have all our punt and punt return guys here together. He's working his kick. We're just telling him, hey, just be generous on the punt, because we want these guys to feel that dip, and we'll get into a competitive situation where, we'll treat it like a one-on-one. We have these here as block points so we can work left and right fast, but he's got to learn to pick and gain ground, and he's just got to learn to be able to kick with some speed. So now our next progression is we put a snapper in there, and we have our punters just standing there at the block point with the ball. So again, taking the hand, reaching out, taking it off the punter's foot. Oops. They're working the other side. So now we started working some shoots just to work on some get off, just to stay low. Here we're working basically our hold up technique. So these guys are going to kick back, same guys, work their kick slides, punch, and now they want to try to stay square, hold up, and then invite their guy to where we want them to go. So here I just borrow the wide receiver shoots and use them to our advantage. But again, we can use this as a competition drill where now we want these guys, yes, to work their hold-up technique. But we also want this guy to learn how to escape, club the arms, chop, dip, rip, and working those techniques that he's going to have to be able to utilize when he's working. And I love it here. Here's this kid getting extra reps here, just working it on air. So now this is where we start working some of our techniques that we have to work against shield teams. So this is our motor mirror drill, and basically it's just a quick shuffle. If he outside releases, we're going to one-hand punch, turn and run. If he inside releases, we're going to shuffle two-hand jam, because we want to deny that inside release as much as possible based on our scheme. And this is what we refer to our guys as top of the hill at the kick. Now we progress to the bottom of the hill. So now we put them in a position where they're trailing, and we don't want to block that. We don't want to block these guys for 40 yards. We want this guy to trail, and when he throttles down to get into a position to tackle, that's when he overtakes. So right here, I would like to see him be a little more aggressive when he sees that, and just when he shows him those numbers, punch and block. And then when he tries to release and come and chase the returner, he's just going to chase with it. So we just have these as throttle points for the guys, and then just keep them from tagging the bag. Now we have adding a live body here. Now we got to chase the returner.
Coach, there's a question here.
Yes.
Are y'all pro punt or shield, and why?
We are pro punt. Probably because most of the head coaches that I've worked for, that's just their preference they've been. You know, one of the things I like is that that's all I've really done. Other than one season we did shield, and it's probably what I'm most comfortable with. But one of the things I do like about the shield is that I see how other teams defend it, and I get paranoid about fakes. So I get fairly conservative with shield teams. It's probably what they want. You know, I'll send 3 or 4 here from time to time, but I always make sure that there's a guy watching things. And but I see other teams that just bail out and try to get a return all the time, and you can have a punter literally run 40 yards down the field for a first down. And I almost want to go to a shield because I think you can just fake it a lot more compared to other teams. But there's things I do like about the shield based on your kickers. I spent some time with Northwestern, and their scheme's really easy in what they do and how they play it. And, you know, if their type of system fits kind of my mentality, and I'd probably go with that because they cross over a lot of their techniques where they're talking about zone step, bucket step, and they use a lot of their O-line techniques in terms of their verbiage. So, but a lot of it's just creature habit and just dumb luck of the guys that I've been working with have been more pro punt. But, you know, I think one of the advantages I've learned from the shield is that there's probably less prep time in terms of the skills, or you could teach those skills a lot quicker. I do think if you've got a good snapper and a punter that can get that ball off pretty quick, it could be pretty advantageous. So, you know, it's something that year to year I'll always debate and talk with our head coach about. Is like, what do you think? You know, is there room for us here? Can we do this and go from there? But, you know, I'm a guy that, you know, if you've got a way and it works for you, hey, roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question.
Yeah.
With your emphasis on special teams, do you have an advantage over your conference opponents, and how much freedom do you have to use your personnel on special teams?
Well, when it comes to, especially in this philosophy I took from, I like to think we have an advantage over our conference opponents. I think with our philosophy, what our head coach believes in, we were very successful with fakes this year, and we use it as a weapon. And it's something that we always look at as, you know, we've got some pretty good teams in our league, and, you know, we played Marion this year, and they were, you know, in the national championship game. So we got to find ways to create opportunities for ourselves. And so I do think we have to make that an advantage, and our head coach does a great job of making that an advantage for us. As far as, you know, trying to develop our skills, and I'm sorry, the other part of the question was?
Just in regards to how much freedom do you have to use your players on special teams?
So with our freedom, we always look at it in terms of, we have 4 running special teams. And if you're a starter on offense or defense, we don't want those guys being on more than for running special teams, because there is a point of wear and tear that you're going to have on a guy over the course of the season. So our best players will be on them, if they're going to give us an advantage to win. So our top tailback was a kickoff returner that, anytime we were kickoff returning, which wasn't a lot, we were going to put him back there because he could make things happen. Unfortunately, he wasn't really great at punt returning, so we could use him there. But we used our wide receivers, our corners, in a lot of situations. But if we had kids that, would develop over the course of time and they provided the same level of performance as a starter on offense or defense, we're going to plug that kid right back in and get him those opportunities. So a lot of times we got to, here's a kid that he could be on all four of them, but he's our starting cornerback. You got to save some wear and tear on that kid. So we always try to cap it at 2 running special teams per kid. And at that point, it's a bartering, like, hey, this guy's better here and here. Let's use him here. We need some guys here to shore up this kind of unit. So, you get some freedom, but again, sometimes too, you're going to get bound by, if there's a lack of depth in a situation, like it got to the point where we didn't have a backup tailback, we didn't want to lose our starter. All right, do we have another guy that can support that role? And then it comes back to, if you're developing kids in those drills and throughout the year and giving those opportunities for them to develop, you're not just finding a kid, plugging him in, hope he does well. He's got the skill set to be able to perform well. And so that's part of kind of where I've come from as far as philosophy goes, so I can develop and build those kids. Move on. There's the progression. So here's the drill. Now we're just using, we're using a returner. We're going to throw the ball down. And now these guys are reacting to a little bit more realistic movement here. Just tossing the ball up the air and then going. So that's our bottom of the hill concept. So we're working things when we're at that catch point. Last drill here is just for our gunners. So, as the returner is approaching him, he wants to work a shimmy technique and square him up. And if the return is going away and he's backside, he wants to accelerate, track the hip, and that's the guy that's going to take his shot. That's a guy we want him to, lay out and try to make that play and create a big spark for us. So here's some of our competitive drills. So this will be a lot of our huddle. What are you doing to me here? So this is our towel drill. So here we're working a little bit of a shield technique. He's trying to work and pick up that towel. He's just trying to ride and block. Now, a lot of times I'll try to talk to these kids about not trying to block him for 40 yards down the field, because that's not realistic. He's going to beat you. Initially get him. He runs wide, get into a trail, and just run, and track his movement. He's going to slow down at some point in time, and when he does, that's when you can work your block technique. So now here, and we'll talk to our kids about this, if he gets beat, if he feels he gets beat, and he sees him slow down and he's close to the returner, which he's doing this a little too soon in my opinion, we do what we call a nameplate, where he just basically tries to cross in front like he does here and box him out. So we don't get that block in the back. He just tries to slice in front, slow him down, give this returner an opportunity to catch and go. So right here, you can see up top, shoot, went back on me. Right here, this guy is in the bad, he's beat. He's beat, but then this guy starts to slow down, and then right at the last second now, he crosses in front and nameplates him. So this is, to me, is a last resort technique. You get beat, but also to get him into the habit of, I got to get in front of him and not be, not executing proper technique and throwing hands into the back and getting a penalty for us. Kid up top here does a nice job. He's probably riding him a little too long here. But that's how we want to finish that block. So here's a progression here. Coming up, one of these clips. Now this is what we don't want either, is a kid slows down quick and he runs right by. So this is just poor eye placement for him. track the near hip, track the near hip. He's just running to run, looking at that towel. He's looking at the returner. We don't look him there. We want him looking right at that hip. Track, 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 and block him. So here's a tight view. So if we get a guy that starts winding back and forth, he's slowing himself down. He winds once, block him and go. So now he's in a good trail position, trail. Now he's just got to, all right, he gets into position. He gets that block there. So he's almost like he's trying to pick up the towel. He's in a good position right here. I call it a haymaker. He just got to bring this arm and basically throw a punch to that shoulder, and he's in great position to make this block. So again, this is a high-speed drill. We can work our guys. He's in a good body position here, blocking him away. And again, this is something where I would do this as often as I can over scheme. I'd walk through the scheme and work this type of drill just to get some speed reps for our guys. So here's we're working a kick slide with these guys, and we're going to have a returner here on the hash. So now they get a live target they got to work through. So again, a little bit of progression with our drill. He's got to get off the block. They got to get out of their way. And these guys got a two-hand tag the returner. We'll use a coach to throw it just for accuracy purposes. But again, it gives them a target. It gives them something a little more realistic, gives them something to work with at speed. These guys can work their release technique. They can work their downfield shuck. He's trying to work the shuck. Doesn't quite get off of it. He probably could have worked the shuck because of his leverage. Just knowing that that was out of bounds. But again, here's the opportunity for us to put all the different skills we work pre-practice together in a full speed drill and something that's a little more realistic game situation where we can get some better execution as far as reps go. So this is just a pre-practice drill. We just vice tackling, working our approach, near foot, double uppercut punch tackle. And a lot of times, you know, our red jersey guys were defensive guys, so they were used to this, but we're trying to get our offensive guys to work the techniques as well. We're working, you know, the punch and press technique, trying to get our guys to get their hand placement right, snapping their hips. Again, we got some offensive guys here that, you know, maybe they're not used to this. A lot of the defensive guys were doing that. So we just grouped them all together and just rep the crap out of it. Again, offensive players just working some tackling technique. They don't get a lot of chance to do that. So this is our crossover drill that we do. First, we'll start kickoff, and they're just working their speed drill, dip and rip. Beat it with speed, dip, rip, and we just work right to the hash, and they work a shimmy on the hash. So here we're just trying to work through. We're in our indoor. Same thing, but now we're working our tackling dummies. Just working speed move, dip and rip. Now we have our backdoor technique. So they see this guy here. Backdoor, quick step, shimmy. Or backdoor, quick step, and tackle. This is our vice drill. So this is our drill mainly for our folds and our kickers and getting them to be in their proper fits and keeping the ball inside and in front. He's the contained guy, ball depth. He's a contained guy, ball depth, ball. So returns coming to him, he's going to fill, he'll flow. So I would prefer for him to get here and just chase it from this way just because this creates opportunity for a cutback and a return. Kickers on top, we get a nice little vice. These guys get a nice little landmark. And again, it's a speed drill with where I want these guys to fall in and fit. Perfect. Again, I was telling the returner, hey, run around, just make sure they're in position. Nice job trimming the fat on the back side, giving them different targets, different landmarks. And you can see, shoot. One of the things we talk about as this guy comes across, you can see how this guy almost is shuffling himself as he comes. He gets close. He's in close proximity. He starts squaring himself up. All right. Because we want to make sure he can redirect. If this guy stops and comes against the grain, he can trigger and cut him off. He is the contained guy, trim the fat. If the ball's not coming at you, then it's not your play to make. So this is one of my favorite things here. I call it our mascot drill. So, for us, it's going to be the Laker drill. Here at these were from when I was at Saginaw Valley. This was a Cardinal drill. But again, close quarters, close proximity, just working punch and press. They've got to block. They got to get off the block. So again, we're working our kickoff return guys. Hey, you got to work and maintain blocks. Returner, you got to look and hit the hole. Kickoff guys got to get off blocks. So again, close quarters drill, there's contact involved, but it's safe contact. And you can really work a lot of stuff and get your kids to understand, how to leverage blocks, how to maintain blocks, how returners, where to hit holes. So now here's the same thing that we did with our kickoff, but now it's our kickoff return drill. So he's working our J step, punch, keep leverage. Punch, keep leverage. So we're just trying to work, make sure that they're square on contact, punch, keep leverage. And then we work it where we lose it, and then we got to regain it. So he cuts back against the grain, tries a back door. We got to flip around and regain that leverage now. So we wanted to block this way. We lose it. We just got to get a block now. Go get a block, run them by the returner. So we'll try to work the worst case scenarios, and hey, this is how you adjust. This is how you adapt. So it's the same drill. So we'll do that kickoff drill for 5 minutes, and we'll say, hey, now it's kickoff return emphasis, and we'll flip around. We stay in our lines, and we can bang out a lot of reps for both units at the same time. So this is just working our front line. They got their block guys. They're just trying to get leverage in space. So this is our fly zone drill coming up. Here's our box. This guy's trying to get, he's able to run him by the cone. Here's a better look. He does a great job. He does a really good job as well. Just runs him right out of it. So this kid does a nice job of just working speed. Like to see a little more dip rip. But here, he gets a chance to run right by that guy. But here you get a chance to see your kids do a lot of stuff at speed, and if they can apply their techniques that we talked about week in and week out. Here he tries to work that back door, gets back into his process. So we can see if kids have a knack for blocking guys in space or just running by guys in space. So here you got some clips, just to kind of illustrate. This is just a kickoff here. Here's our fold guy trying to find that window, gets caught, but then he finds it and he gets to the ball here. You'll get a better view on the tight. Guys do a nice job of getting off blocks and just getting to their landmarks. So all their fits, these guys are forming fits for the 4s and 5s. He knows where the return's going, so he's going to try to beat this thing right there over the top, gets a nice dip rip. Again, this is a great job of working our mascot drill right here. He gets his punch, dip rip, get to the ball. That's just a great job by a 3 right here. His end is the fit. Ends going in there, beats his block off the edge, just makes a play in open space. So here's some punt clips here, and here I'll be able to show you some guys working their shuck and their back door. I thought this was a good job of distribution for our guys, getting their landmarks on their initial 10, and then keeping the ball inside and in front. Working our kicks, punch, protect, get off the blocks. But now we've got guys to where they need to be as far as their landmarks go. Now it's time to get the ball inside and in front. Have a nice wall, nice distribution.
Coach, how many times do you work each given drill during the year?
So once we get through all these drills in the preseason, I'll try to rotate them around. And a lot of times it ends up being more of the competitive type stuff once we get through. So 5 minutes, we'll work punch against a guy that's working that target for a few reps. And then we'll flip right around and work our shuck and our back door just to get a few reps there. And then we'll try to basically, once our kids know the drills, we can get through a lot of reps in 2.5 minutes and then get through another lot of reps in 2.5 minutes. And then I'll flip over to our punt side of that in our pre-practice stuff. If I ever feel we need to take more time out of our punt period, so if we have 15 minutes of punt period, I might take 5 minutes and do some extra drill work there. So if I ever feel we need to use more drill time and I don't get more time, I'll use our punt time because our scheme is, fairly, easy to understand, and the rules are fairly easy to understand that, whatever we see, if you follow your rules, you're going to be fine. So we'll try to get through everything in the preseason, and then it comes down to, all right, we're weak in this technique. We got to do a better job in our downfield tackling. So then I'll start weighing it versus, hey, we're good with our kicks, we're good with our punches, let's work more downfield stuff. And then it's just a matter of just kind of week to week evaluating maybe what our work needs, and then just kind of working all those base stuff that we've done week in and week out. So this one, you'll see it on the tight. One of our guys does a great job of working his back door here, but then we had another guy do a great job of his shuck. See this kid right here. Number 4 is going to run down. Better job getting off that block. Now he's running. Finally, he just throws him out of the way, and then he gets in on the tackle. Would have liked to have seen him work a dip rip and then use his speed, but at least he fell back and did what he needed to do here. But again, it's these little skills sometimes that, this kid just stays on that block and never gets to that position to tackle that, I think a lot of times you end up losing out on, and those are the things that end up getting you beat. Again, this is a nice job of just distribution. It was an angle kick, so we have to adjust, and our kids adjust on the fly to at least get the ball. Gunner does a great job of just downing it inside the 5. And this was just an example of our punt return here. Kid ran out of bounds. So we just had it's a hold up wall. So we got our wall coming around. Guys are in a leverage position, and he's not the fastest cat in the world. Does a great job, and then he stepped out of bounds right there. But again, this kid could catch the ball. He caught everything that needed to be caught. We got in a position, we pinned guys where they needed a pin. Our wall came around and leveraged things. Good block. We got it leveraged. Gave ourselves an opportunity. And I could share again. I'll pull that PowerPoint up again. If you guys have any questions, you want that PowerPoint, talk scheme, but if you guys got any questions, hey, I'm more than happy to answer what I can, or if you want to just message me on Twitter or my email or shoot me a text, feel free.
We'll get this one right here, Coach, and then we'll wrap it up and have them reach out to you. But first year, you got a first year special teams coordinator. Okay, what is the best way to make sure we get our time with coaches keeping so much time on offense or defense? And if they don't bend, how can we make the most out of work during the pregame practice?
I feel you on that one. Again, a lot of it will be taking advantage of, if he gives you that 10 minutes of pre-practice specialists where, returners and kickers are doing their thing. You start taking your units and breaking down your most important skills, or the skills that maybe you're weakest at that you need to work on. And then you might have to simplify the scheme to the point where you don't take long to teach it, so you can spend a little more time early on to get those techniques. There will be a point where you feel pretty good with your techniques. Maybe it's week 6, week 7 of the season, and you just start focusing more on scheme because, it's just time, and you want to make sure you get a certain scheme or there's something that you can really exploit or attack. But part of it too is trying to figure out, what the head coach is, let's say he's an offensive guy. Hey, coach, you know what? If you give me 5 extra minutes, I'll get you that ball on the 35-yard line if you give me 5 extra minutes on the kickoff return. That's just going to help your offense, and it's just coming to in terms of, what's his mentality. A defensive coach, hey, coach, you let me work on this punt team more, and we get this covered. We're going to get that ball in pinned deeper. So, we're going to make that offense have to earn that thing against you guys. Little things like that. If in terms of trying to figure out, the best way to kind of implore him to, hey, this will only help us and this will help us be better. And then see if he's willing to give you extra time as far as like, hey, we could do it as a walkthrough period, and that's where you do your scheme, so you can spend extra time doing more drills. And so just trying to get as creative as you can, and the one thing is the head coach is a head coach, and he's going to do what he feels is best for the team, and you don't want to get into a pissing match. So it's kind of, there's been a lot of times where I had to fight, and I took what I can get and then got creative with what I got.
Absolutely. Coach, I appreciate you spending some time with us and talk about some special teams. I apologize for what happened before. I think I figured it out on my end, but yeah, unfortunately, you got those incidents.
There's some kids and weirdos and people
Yeah,
jumping on. Holy cow!
I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. So it is. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. So what were they? They were just